Hey everybody, how's it going? Happy New Year. So recently I took a look at how to import MIDI files into the Blackbox to speed up your workflow and just very quickly start working with fleshed out MIDI sequences on the Blackbox. This is a new feature that was added a couple weeks ago in a firmware update, and I did a video that discusses the basics of how to use this, and I'll put a link to it here. Now, since this feature has come out, a lot of Blackbox players have started to better understand what is the relationship between sequences and pads in the Blackbox, and there has been some concern circulating on forums that this feature isn't really ready for prime time, because when you import a MIDI file, it is always inextricably linked to pad 1. Now, in truth, that is the default. However, it is not your only option. So what I'd like to do right now is to just quickly show you what are the steps to import a MIDI file and associate it with any pad you want, or for that matter, to, in the case of the sequence that's running right now, this isn't really playing any pad. This is actually driving one of my other synths, the Micro Monster. But for the sake of this video and this topic, we're going to talk about importing MIDI and sending that imported sequence to two different pads. Okay, so let's do it. All right, I'm going to stop this. Okay, so I've got two different pads here. They're multi-samples over here. Let's get a little volume there. There you go. And then over here on pad 6. And I should actually back up real quick and mention, I don't know what the technical term, what the definition by 1010Music is for this little grid right up here, right under 70:4. This grid is sort of like a quick navigator, and it allows me to go, like, it's showing me that right now I'm in pad 6, but I can just jump to pad 5. So whatever screen I'm on, like right now I'm on the keys screen, a different way to get there, the long way would be to tap pads, move over to 6, and then hit keys, and now I'm on this other very low sequence. But with this sort of grid navigator, I want to call it a Rubik's Cube, but there's too many squares to be a Rubik's Cube, or a waffle for that matter, so it's just a grid. But I can just jump back and forth between pad 5 and pad 6, or pad 5 and pad 16. It doesn't matter. And this is important because there is actually another grid that we're going to look at in a second, and that's the key to importing sequences to different pads. Okay, so let's do it. So just remember, on pads 5, I've got this string, and on pad 6, I have this bass. So let's go over to sequences, and really doesn't matter where. Let's say up here. I'm going to import a sequence. I'm going to import some MIDI to sequence 15. So I've selected that sequence. I hit info. Now, here's the key. Tap the grid on the right this time, and then select the pad that you want to import into. Now, I think I got to double check this. If I leave So yeah, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's pad 5. Now if I go back to the sequence, it reset itself to 1. It really wants to be on pad 1. But as long as I set it to 5, and then do edit, import, and again, I've got another video that explains how to import your files, but I've got one loaded, right on deck, ready to go to load. I'm going to load this bass, boom, and now it doesn't necessarily show up right away, but it's there. There it is. And let's see what happens. Okay, now I don't have the timing quite right, so let's fix that. But you notice that it was firing on pad 5. Let's go back to sequences. So my awesome bass line. I think were these 8th notes? Oh, this was a long guy, and I think they were 16ths. Okay. It's too loud. Beautiful, right? Okay, so the reason I have the second multi-sample loaded on pad 6 is because I wanted to show you that I can in fact load the sample or load the sequence to play against a different pad. So let's do that right now. So I go back to sequences and I'll go over here. Really doesn't matter. We have control. So right now I'm on sequence 4, event. Now what I can do this time is get my 128 steps in first, and then info gets me back here. And then this time, using the grid on the right, I'm going to tell it I want you to import against. I want you to play pad 6. Edit, import, same MIDI file, load. Just give it a second to get in there, and then just so we're not like out of control here, I'll turn on the Chord Pro and the bass line that's supposed to fire on pad 6, and go. And just like that, we've imported to a different pad, or imported a sequence to be played by a different pad. And that's it. So I hope that this is helpful to those of you who are concerned that this feature wasn't really ready for prime time. Could it be improved? Probably. I don't have any suggestions for what to do with it right now, except of course for maybe sequences that are no pad, so that we can get more out of our MIDI, but that's between me and 1010Music. That being said, this is awesome. Still having a lot of fun with this feature. Plan to keep using it. And I hope that this explanation clears up the concerns that some folks were having. If it doesn't, shout out, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. If this was helpful, do me a favor, like and subscribe. That's it, guys. Once again, Happy New Year. Rock on. And I'll see you next time. Oh, one other thing I should point out. From here as well, if I want, like, I could just kill the volume on these multi-samples, and this sequence could also, since I was talking about MIDI, I can also just direct this to a synth. So now, this is coming out of the AS1. However, let me stop. I should point out that at the same time, it is firing that pad. So if you're wondering what I was babbling about a minute ago, where I was saying, oh, wouldn't it be sweet if we had a no pad sequence? If we look at this guy up here, you'll notice that, it's still locked into pad 6. So the reason that I suggested to the team on the 1010 forum that they give us a no pad sequence would be so that if I have the intention of using a sequence specifically with an external synth, why should that cost me a pad? Because I want to use my 16 pads for actual sounds. So if, again, like we talked about before, the default is to go to pad 1. If I import or just create in the Blackbox a handful of sequences, one is meant for the AS1, and one is meant for the Micro Monster, and maybe one is driving the circuit that you can't see right now. They can do that. The Blackbox can do that. The Blackbox could drive 16 different instruments, but at a minimum, it's going to cost you one pad. So, what I've taken to do essentially now is if I know that I'm not going to use that sequence to play multi-sample or some other sample in here, I sort of sacrifice pad 1 and just say, all right, well, pad 1's not doing audio because it is my sacrificial pad that the sequence is assigned to. I don't even know what happens if I change. Yeah. Oh, so that's the other thing. I mean, this is pretty nuanced, and we can get into this in a different video. But you can't change the sequence. Scratch that. Back it up. You can't change the pad that a sequence is assigned to. You can, in a particular sequence, you can. So where a sequence is one of these boxes, in a particular sequence, you can program events that take place on different pads. See, like right now I'm on 6. If I switch to 5, I'm not moving that sequence on 6 to 5. I am inspecting whatever and potentially modifying whatever is on pad 5. And even though we have copy and paste functionality, to the best of my knowledge and based on my testing and playing, you can't move. I couldn't just be like, you know what? I'm just gonna pick up what's here. Like if I could just like copy this and then go over here. I don't know. Maybe I'd love to be wrong. And hit paste. It doesn't do it. What it would just do is it would just recopy it to 5. Like to prove my point, if I just come up to this pad, I don't know if the paste is still there. All right, so you see that we moved up to sequence 8, and it automatically loaded that sequence into pad 6 because that's the pad it was on originally down here in sequence 4. And I just realized that I was showing all of you that on the wide camera, so I'm not going to shoot this again. So I hope that made sense. If not, again, just hit me up with some questions and I'll clarify it. I think I get it, and hopefully now you do too. So with that, as I said, rock on, have a good night, and I'll see you on the next one.